No one in this world can you trust. Not men, not women, not beasts. This you can trust.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Glory of Golden State Gaming. I'm your host, Swamp Swimmer, and today, Henry's back on the channel. Henry, welcome back.
Oh yeah, always happy to come back. Always happy to talk new rules, new books is what I seem to come on for. So
you do such a great job. I just have to invite you back every time. But you hinted at it. It is that time of year again. It is balance update time. And what makes this year a little extra special is that they are not just doing point updates, they are doing rule updates. So there's big changes for, not big changes, but there's rule changes for every book. And some books are getting kind of heavily redesigned and some are just a little bit of tweaking, but it's really exciting. I've read through. This is the first of 3 sections of books that are going to be released to us. So this is part 1 of 3. In this section, we got the main rulebook, we got the Arcane Compendium, and we got the Dread Elves. What am I thinking here? Dread Elves, KOE, Saurian Ancients, and Vermin Swarm. And then
the non-gold labs, right?
Yeah. So these are the most recent lab books. Tweaking, including the most recent, which is the Saurian Ancient. We've got a lot to get through, so I say we just jump right into it. Do you have anything you want to add? Do you want to think?
Yeah.
Are you hyped, or how do you feel about this?
So this one's kind of interesting because normally the rules or the points update is kind of just a rebalancing, but this one feels a bit more like spring cleaning.
Yeah, I have to agree.
There's a lot of tidying up, and this was one that was pretty doom and gloom before we knew more. And I was one of those doom and glooms, but after seeing it a bit more, it's actually pretty exciting. So yeah, let's get to it.
All right, here we go. This is the rule book. It seems like I briefly went through it. There's no real core rules changes, except for I'm gonna speed all the way to the changes here at the change log. Basically, what they're doing with the main rulebook is they're taking a bunch of kind of special rules that appeared in maybe a handful, maybe 1, 2, or 3 books, and they're bringing those rules into the main rulebook. As far as I can tell, and Aaron Vespasian, I talked with him about it. One of the main goals for this balance update was to try to simplify a little bit the rules. So they're trying to take some of those wordy extra rules out of the books and bring them into the main rulebook. So let's just go down these rules really quick right here. There's a new rule called attached. This is basically means the model they have to join this one type of unit, so it'll be attached in parentheses the unit type.
Yeah, and this one kind of comes mainly, you see it in the Saurian book, but also like the Reliquary and a few other things pick up this rule.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's just mainly just cleanliness. This feels like just to clean it up rather than being like, this can join this. It just saves word space to just say attached.
Yeah, I agree. Next one is Deafening Clamor. This is the rule that we saw with the Titanopod, with the OgreCon Giants, and this is the 18-inch musician.
With the Garuda, or yes. The drum Goyog.
Yes, from the, what was that, the Hobgoblin book.
That's the Hobgoblin book, yeah. But no, this rule is always a really cool rule, so it's kind of nice that it's evergreen, so to speak, to use a magic term.
Yeah. Then there's Hidden. This is the rule with the assassins for Vermin Swarm and for Dread Elves. Yeah, for Dread Elves also. It's that rule. I think it's only 2 spots it shows up.
I expect with the Orcs and Goblins book coming down the pipe.
Yeah, makes sense
Hidden
for them.
will show up there too.
Then we got Hold the Line. This is the special rule that was seen in the Dread Elf book, where it's a mini reroll to panic bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mini BSB, which
exclusive, this means it can only join this one unit type. So the difference between attached is it has to join that unit, and exclusive means it can only join that unit, if I'm reading that correctly.
Yeah. Correct. Attached has to be in conjunction with, whereas exclusive just limits where it can go.
Special ambush. This is, the tunnel markers. This is the underground ambush for Undying Dynasties. This is the ambush where you can ambush units in certain spots on the board. Self-explanatory.
Yeah. Cleans it up rather than everyone having the rule be slightly different.
Yeah. Extra support. This is some units could do extra supporting attacks. The Zealot banner, for instance. The swarms from Undying Dynasty. And
KOE. Everything in KOE.
Yes, true. Rage, the rage rule from the Giants, and a few other models in the game. You lose HP, you get attacks. Pretty simple.
I honestly thought rage was evergreen to begin with, because
me too.
everything that has rage, it's called rage, but okay.
It just didn't exist in the main rulebook, but now it does. Shoot in extra ranks. I thought this existed in the rulebook myself, but evidently it didn't.
Yeah, once again, okay, same with steady aim, actually, which is the next one.
Yeah, the ignore, stand, and shoot penalties. There's a sense of
and then
common
the last,
rules. Yeah. Go ahead.
The last one is actually kind of interesting because it's a very scary rule that doesn't actually mean what you think it means, which is immune. And it's just, when they say immune, it just means to the attribute of the attack. So not the attack.
Yeah. So if you're immune to flaming attacks and you get hit by someone with a flaming banner, the flaming just gets turned off, not the actual attack.
Not the attack. Yeah. I heard a little bit of chicken littling from folks about who kind of knew about this rule coming out when they thought immune meant what the word means.
That would have been a little scary.
What the rule means.
That would have been very scary.
No, it's once again like a really clean rule. There's a lot of stuff that made you ignore lethal strike or multi-wound, and now you just get to say immune.
Yeah.
So the one thing I'll say about all these rules or all these changes is, as someone who plays a lot of different games, these feel like very professional changes where like things are getting tighter by like a design's sense, where it's easier to keyword something than it is to explain the rule every time. Keywords make gameplay streamlined, so I'm all for adding more keywords, getting rid of lengthy explanations for rules that could just be keyworded.
Yeah, I think it's just a cleanup thing. It makes the game a little simpler. Also, what this really does is it helps these kind of rules, these special tricky rules that you're playing some army and then the opponent pops up with this special rule. It's like, oh, by the way, I've got this and that, and it's deep in the rules somewhere on some line. It takes that down a notch. I feel like people are going to be surprised by rules less because of this, which it's not going to go away completely, but it's going to help out in that department a little bit. You get blindsided by a rule and it just ruins the game for you. Yeah.
Especially when a lot of these rules had their own unique names.
Yes.
So now the name is going to be just standardized, which is always nice. Like, you don't need to know every book to know every rule now. So I'd like to see more of this rather than less, for sure.
I completely agree. A big thumbs up to the rules team. This is a good thing. All right, let's move on to the Arcane Compendium with a little. This is going to be some spicy stuff, folks. This is really exciting stuff.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest overall change to the game out of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, this is some pretty exciting stuff. So let's just go down the list. Let's get to, oh boy, alchemy. Word of Iron.
Alchemy, I think is.
Did the boosted Word of Iron go up or down? And boosted Silver Spike. I think they went down. I think
I think Word of Iron went up one. Let me check. Word of Iron went up one.
Yeah, and then boosted Silver Spike has to have gone down one.
Yes. Yeah. Which is reasonable. Boosted Word of Iron is
A very popular spell.
Incredible spell.
Yeah. So I guess a little bit of a letdown here. I just led in saying this is gonna be big changes and not huge changes here in alchemy. So cool. I'm pleased with that. That's good. Moving on to cosmology. Okay.
So for Cosmo has 2. Truth and Time is an entirely new spell.
Yep. So previously, Truth and Time was the maximized or minimized charge, flee, pursuit, overrun distances, right?
Yeah. And now it's +2 advance, +2 agility, or -2, -2.
Yep.
Which I think makes Cosmo an even better elf.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Elf lore.
100%. I think it's the advance rate's whatever. Like that's whatever. But the agility buff of either +2 or -2 agility. I think this is now the second spell that affects agility, or maybe the third spell. There's maybe one in Witchcraft. I can't remember.
Yeah, there's one in Witchcraft and one in Div.
In Div, yeah. So this is a big change.
Though
I
will say about the advance rate, -2 advance rate for it seems like every army that can take Cosmo can play the shooting game, and -2 advance rate for the
bringing basically.
Oh no, because it doesn't affect their march.
Yep.
Huh. Okay, but it's still slowing them down, get some extra shots in is never a bad thing.
Yeah, it's still doing the same thing. It's affecting the charge, either speeding up your charge or slowing down their charge. Yes, you hit the nail on the head. March is still just fine, but the agility that makes it a really good spell.
Yeah.
Unity and Divergence. So this is something they did in general. All the spells that were previously every single model in the unit takes a hit. All of that got changed to now a 6x6 area attack.
Yeah. This is interesting for 2 reasons, actually. So 6x6 just makes it cleaner. But now, if my understanding is correct, it can't hit characters or champions.
Oh yeah, good point.
Which is actually pretty big. There's a nice way to snipe a champion.
Yeah.
For kind of free. But I like this change. It's a cleaner change.
Yeah, it's really it's helping out like giant deep units, like Vermin swarm units. Oh, Henry's away.
Never have cats. Cats are terrible. They will destroy things you love for no reason.
I was just saying, this is still just as good as a spell as it was before, but it really helps out skinny deep units like Vermin Swarm or Skeleton units, because then you're still only hitting 5x6, so 30 hits instead of 50 or 60.
Yeah, that is actually pretty interesting. It punishes combat units rather than chunky units.
Okay, so nothing crazy there, but I like the changes.
No, but some solid changes.
Divination. So only one spell change, which used to be what was it called?
Horton of Doom.
Horton of Doom,
or something. Yeah.
Which was the a minus combat res for every character in the unit.
Yeah, it made you do like algebra for figuring out combat res.
Yeah. Now it's Mirror of the Veil, which is MR3. That's against your own spells also, and you can bubble it.
but it is universal, which is
Oh, I didn't notice
interesting.
I didn't notice the universal. That is interesting.
So I think the idea is it can protect you against things like pyromancy, but also it has a role when you're playing against druidism or evocation or the like.
It's an interesting spell. It's kind of like how do I describe this? This is going to be the last spell you cast in your magic phase every time.
Yeah. This spell is interesting. I kind of wish it wasn't the 6th spell. Just because this, I would happily take a adept on div to get access to the spell, but taking a div master,
and just running them around and bubbling this.
The 5 and 6 spells kind of just don't inspire me in div, and when we get a bit farther in this document, you'll see why the whole taking a master on certain lores is going to become a little less appealing.
Yep.
I would have liked to see Mirror of the Veil be like the 4 spell, because I don't really see a point in taking a master to get access to this spell.
Yeah, I guess it's just situational. When you run into an army that's magic heavy, you might take it, and you have a div master.
Yeah,
but
it's also really good versus dwarves, it's really good versus dwarves, because magic resistance affects bound spells.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
You can boldly one dice dispel bound spells.
That's interesting. I didn't think of that. Okay. So I think that's an interesting change. It's not the end of the world, because the 6 spell before Portent of Doom was like never taken.
Yeah, pretty much divination just gained a spell.
Yeah.
Like it went from having 5 spells to having 6 spells, but maybe 5.5 spells. So I guess it's free, so just take it.
Yeah, you can't complain. Next up, a druidism, which meant through the whole thing's green. This is a whole new lore. I'm excited about it. So first, let's talk about ley lines on the top. So instead of, previously certain spells could be cast from certain terrain features, now all of the druidism spells can be cast from a forest, a water feature, or a hill, but the range from when you cast it from a terrain feature is always set to 6 inches.
Yeah. So this is interesting in the fact that I think when there was like a map pack, casting from specific terrain pieces makes sense, but you don't always play a map pack. Yeah. So just having this kind of rider that lets you cast all the spells from wherever they need to get cast from is pretty nice. 6 inches is a little low, but I haven't played any games with New Druidism, so I don't know how short that will actually be.
Yeah, but it's from so many different terrain pieces. Forest, water, and hill are there's gonna be multiple on every battlefield. I think this is a big step up in that department.
I wish we could have squeezed a wall in there, but I know why we didn't, or at least field. But I know why we didn't.
So the attribute Hidden Paths. This is just a 12-inch augment. The target unit gains Strider. This is pretty good.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah, it combos with the ley lines nicely in the fact that you don't always want to be within 6 inches of forest or a water feature. So this at least kind of helps you out there.
Yeah, it's interesting. So like basically you could, if you got a druid as a master and you can stick a rank and file unit in a field or in a forest somewhere, and as long as you get one spell off a turn, it's not going to be worried about being in the forest. I think I think this is pretty good. But you are losing, you are losing that healing, the 1 tick of HP per magic phase. I don't know. Healing's pretty good.
The really cool thing actually is that since this is also a spell, this can be cast from the terrain features.
That was a question I was going to ask you. I wasn't sure about that. So this is technically a spell. So it can be cast, and you can cast it separately. You can cast a main spell at range and then cast the attribute through a terrain feature.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be the same target or anything like that. So you can kind of bail yourself out of weird situations.
Okay.
No, it's an interesting attribute. I think it will provide a lot more flexibility than initially it looks. And with the last nerf to Fountain of Youth at the start of the year, the Druidism attribute was already kind of limping along, so a complete change isn't too bad.
I agree. So number 1 spell, Fountain of Youth. 5'7", 12 inches. Either you raise 1 wound or you raise D3 wounds, and you can't do more than 1 wound on a Towering Presence model or character or Towering Presence. Yeah. This is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I've actually been having a debate with myself if this makes the wizard hat better or worse. Because initially the old 1 spell was the 5-up regen, but just having a little healing spell is pretty good for a dragon character or something like that. Just a way to plink a wound back on yourself.
I just feel like I feel like the D3 is swingy.
Yeah, boosting it seems, but it does gain focused.
Yeah, so you can heal out a character in a unit. Yeah.
But focusing, I guess focusing, you always just heal the 1 wound on the character. I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, I don't quite know how I feel about it as opposed to the 5-up regen. I guess the one other important thing to say is Throne is gone.
Yeah,
there's no Throne boosts or anything like that. It is just completely gone.
Which I think it was an interesting mechanic when it was like you think about the Oaken Throne, but in practice it was just annoying. It was
a bit of bookkeeping.
And it was easy to counteract. It was easy to for your opponent to mess with your magic phase, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So the number 2 spells, Entwining Roots. This is basically the same, right? It's a hex. But instead of you can boost it now to either -1 or -2 offensive, defensive, and aiming.
Yep, and I think it actually picked up 6 inches of range, but I could be wrong on that one.
I mean, also this spell got even better because of the ley lines rule. If you want to shut down,
before it was from woods.
Yeah, but now you can do it from a hill or water feature.
But now being from a hill will catch a lot of shooting castles.
Exactly.
And war machines, so Entwining Roots gets a bit better there for sure.
I think it's a step up.
The basic version is very cheap.
Yeah, 5-up.
Casting on the 5-up is very good. Yeah.
3 spell, Healing Waters, 8+, 18-inch range. The unit gains Fortitude 6 and also Fortitude +1 to max 3-up. So this is adding a 5-up Fortitude to a unit, or a character with a 4-up Fortitude is going to go to a 3-up Fortitude, which is strong.
Yeah, this one is interesting. When I read it, I made sure that no armies that could take trolls could get Druidism. But no, it's an interesting change. It's a pretty subtle change. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. Number 4, Master of Earth. This got better. Master of Earth used to be either D6 Strength 4 or Strength 5 hits. Now it's 2d6 Strength 4, AP 1, only a 6-inch range. So you and it is now a hex, so you can put it into combat.
Yeah, I
No,
really
no.
hope they fix this.
No, I lied. It's damage, so you can't go into combat, but you can shoot it out of combat.
Yes, yeah. And it doesn't need front arc.
Yeah.
My problem is one of the better things about Master of Earth was actually going off of Impassable.
Yeah.
And it can't do that anymore. And with a 6-inch range, either coming off the caster or coming off a terrain feature, I think this spell is just going to get left by the wayside.
Really? I think
picking up an extra D6 of hits is good, but I don't think you're ever just going to be in range to really make people think about the spell. Like, when the spell's obvious, it's going to be obvious.
Yeah.
But it's never like, oh, I can blink off the last few wounds with a cheeky Master of Earth. Now it's like, it's 6-inch range.
I was just thinking, it's if you're going at a castling army and you want to use Master of Earth to take care of chaff units, it kind of makes them not be able to back up. They can't back up their chaff next to terrain pieces, so they have to keep the chaff out front. That's like my one thought about it.
Yeah. I would hope that the initial spell, if not coming off the terrain, if the initial spell could pick up an extra 6 inches, just be a 12-inch missile. But once again, I haven't played enough games with New Druidism to know if the severe range decreases actually matter as much as I think they do.
Yeah. The 5 spell Stone Skin is different. 10 plus to cast, 18-inch range. Instead of plus 2 or 3 resilience, it is now effectively the attribute from Shamanism. You cannot wound that unit on better than a 5 plus. I think this is a step down. This is a big step down.
I weirdly think this is a step sideways because for armies like Elves and I forgot the other T3 army that can take Druidism. This is great, but for armies like Beasts and Lizards, this is awful. Yeah, this is a terrible change.
I agree wholeheartedly. But I play Saurian Ancient Beasters. Come on.
all the pointy ears and pajamas. This is great for them. But yeah, I think this might be, all these Druidism changes might actually be the nail in the coffin for Druidism for Beast Herds. And the other army I was trying to think of was KOE, and it's nuts for KOE. The entire Druidism change is absurd for Kingdom of Equitaine.
Oh yeah, you make a good point. You make a really good point.
Like, picking up D3 Knights is very strong.
Which brings us on to the 6th spell, Summer Growth. Instead of a fixed number of guys it raises when you cast it, it is now an area of, you pick. It's a comet, basically. You pick a point on the board. Everyone within 6 inches of that point raises D3 wounds. And you're exactly right.
Yeah,
KOE is gonna love this.
It's baby's first invocation, vampire invocation. But this is the one that 6 inches off a terrain becomes really, really strong.
Yeah.
Because you can like drop the center in the corner of the 6 inches and bubble out. And just this is where that leyline attribute is going to really shine, I think. But once again, we see this entire lore focusing more around elite armies rather than armies like Saurians and Beasts that have a ton of bodies.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, this previously, the Summer Growth was really nice when you're keeping bunkers up and raising 7 guys in with one spell. Can't do that no more. Now it's more focused on MSU elite guys. Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. It's a big step up for Sylvans, for Highborns. No, Highborns can't take Druidism.
They can take a little bit from the Cannerig Tower, but yeah, putting back 25-point Elves or 60-point knights is a lot better than putting back 8-point Longhorn.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it kind of feels like Saurians were given Druidism in the last book, and then it's within a month and a half it's been taken away. But
the one thing I can see
I don't know.
It will be nice for my style of Saurian Ancient list, which is skink heavy. So Stone Skin were really nice to get the skinks.
Stone Skin and Healing Waters are both really nice for skinks.
All right, so that's Druidism. Interesting changes. I don't know if I love it or not yet, but it's interesting. Let's move on to Evocation. Not a big change here, just Ancestral Aid and Spectral Blades switched places, so now Ancestral Aid is the one spell. Number 4 is Spectral Blades. I agree with this. Spectral Blades is such a good spell. We saw so many apprentices running around with Spectral Blades. I did it myself with my Beast Herds. It's fine.
think this is actually one of the bigger changes in the spells overall. Mainly just because of Spectral Blades, I think could be argued to be in the top 5 spells in the game.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, being able to pick it up from an apprentice or the wizard hat was just such a gimme that it just made them no-brainers. And Ancestral Aid
It's still good.
is kind of a mopey spell. It's a good spell, but for a lot of the armies that can take Evocation, they either have rerolls or they have lightning reflexes.
Yeah. But like,
And it makes
for
Ancestral
instance,
kind of mopey.
yeah, it can be really helpful with some armies, the armies that struggle to hit.
Yeah.
Like giants,
Just
for
the
instance.
armies that can-
Yeah.
Yeah, the armies that can take Evo, it's all seem to have some way to already help them hit. But no, it's the correct change. But it's a sad day to wear a wizard hat, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on. Occultism. Is there any change?
Yeah. Oh, there is one change. Grave Calls is 18-inch range now.
Oh boy.
But yeah, the Strength 6 version has been limited to 12-inch
12.
range always.
Yeah.
So, this is pretty good for warriors, pretty good for infernal dwarves, and pretty good for vampires. All who had ways of manipulating Grave Call's range anyway.
Yep.
So for the lists I like to play for vampires, Grave Call's now just picked up 24-inch range, which seems pretty nice. Warriors, kind of the same deal. And infernal dwarves, it's now has 18-inch range, so it's a takeable spell. So it's a tiny change, but I think it's a change that was badly needed for occultism.
Now, with the wording here, if the target is within 12 inches of the caster, you get the +1 strength. So that 12 inches is not affected by range boostings to spells.
Correct.
Only
It's,
the overall range. Yeah.
It's exactly the same as Mark for Doom, which is the 5 spell. Mark for Doom and Grave Calls just care about if you are within 12 rather than the range of the spell.
Yeah.
But
Still,
picking up the 6-inch for the non-boosted version is very good for 2d6 strength 5.
2d6 strength AB2 is still pretty damn good. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll put the fear into a bunch of monsters and stuff like that. So great spell from a underappreciated lore.
All right, moving on. Pyromancy. So the number 2 spell used to be which one? What was the number 2 spell? Was that the Hex spell?
It was the Hex.
Yeah, the one you can
I'm
put
gonna
into
say
combat.
before we read Pyromancy, I'm gonna make a blanket, unbased, unfactual opinion. I think this change makes Pyromancy the best combat lore in the game.
I think I might agree with you. Let's look at the spell here. Well, the 2 spell is now Cloak of Cinders, 7/9 to cast, 18-inch range. It's an augment. So either melee or if you boost it and ranged attacks suffer a -1 to wound against that unit.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It's
That's
the ogre hereditary, but better.
Yeah. That in conjunction
and
with
also
flaming swords is like that's pretty great.
The other funny thing is, just as a side note, ogres can take pyromancy. So all of a sudden you have 2 -1 to wound spells for combat, and Merc Vets went from T4 to T8. Just no, yeah. This spell feels like it's been re-engineered. I mean, this lore feels like it's been re-engineered to go against Dread Elves. Which, hooray. But it feels like some other other combat armies might suffer along the way, as collateral damage.
Oh boy,
but having -1 to wound and +1 to wound in the same lore that can be taken by an adept feels very strong.
I have to agree. Also, Enveloping Enders is now a 6x6, like we mentioned before, instead of the whole unit.
Yep, it's exactly the same as the Cosmo one, except it's flaming.
Yep. Man, you might be right. We're gonna see a lot more pyromancy, aren't we?
Yeah, I have definitely been looking at what armies can take pyro just to see who can exploit it and who can't. And Infernal Dwarves and Ogres are the 2 front runners as far as they can really utilize the pyro changes.
Agreed. Moving on. Shamanism.
There's one change in shamanism. The totemic beast lost its breath weapon.
Yep, no more breath weapon for totemic summons. Which is fine. It's fine.
A bunch of elves became very happy all of a sudden. But
even then, it wasn't. It was 1 breath attack at strength 3.
Yeah, it was. Shamanism is the lore of kind of feel bads, where you have like swarm of insects and the breath weapon off the totem.
Mm-hmm.
Where like sometimes they do nothing, and sometimes to just kind of end the game for somebody. So I can see why they took it off, but I can see why it was there too. So
yeah.
I don't know.
And the lower
take it or leave it.
The lower version of Totemic Summon went down by 1. It's now a 9 to cast also.
Oh, I did not notice that. I thought it was always a 9.
No, it was a 10.
Maybe
it was
I'm
a 10.
wrong. Oh. Huh. So it went down both ways because it's a 9/11 now. Oh no, it's 9/12. It's 9/12. I know how to read.
Yeah, there you go.
I was reading Break the Spirit.
So not a crazy change, but I think it's fine. It's interesting. Moving on to Thaumaturgy. There's some clarification here.
Changes.
Yeah, there's some clarification in the 1 spell, but it does the same thing. Speaking in tongues is now very different. So
Speaking in tongues has had a redesign every year since I think 9th Age has existed. This one might be good, finally. We might have found one that's finally good. Oh no, never mind. No, we didn't. Spell's still bad.
And this one, previously it was the target can reroll failed discipline checks. If the spell target
or didn't get, or couldn't. They could or couldn't reroll depending on if it was a hex or an augment.
Yeah. And now the unit, it's a hex, so it goes on an enemy. The target must take a discipline check. If it passes, it's fearless. If it fails, it's shaken. Basically, this is a spell to prevent enemies from fleeing from a charge.
Yeah, it's so weird because it doesn't work.
Wait, no, with shaken. Wait. When you're shaken, are you able to flee from a charge?
Well, so the thing is they're shaken, but then it goes to the next player's turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they'd no longer be shaken because it's the active player's turn? Is my understanding of shaken. I might need to reread that. Because it's not until the next magic phase. It's just they gain shaken.
They become shaken, and then when does shaken fall off? And that's the beginning of the player turn, yeah. So...
Yep.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't get it.
So it's like a 50-50 to make them lose scoring in your turn. So if you're the bottom player, you can make your opponent take a leadership test to maybe lose scoring or maybe just gain fearless. It's such a terrible spell. Like, this may be the worst iteration of speaking in tongues yet. Come on. Just.
All right. The other change of Wrath of God no longer accumulates tokens.
Yes.
It's always going to be a 2d6 radius, strength 5 AP2 with 2d6 hits.
Yep.
So it doesn't
it's
build
probably fine and fair. Though I kind of always enjoyed the Wrath of God that had like five or six counters on it. And you're like, oh god, it's coming.
Yeah, I agree.
But...
Actually, I think this is a little bit of a loss. I wish that was really fun when it was this crazy huge comet waiting to come down.
I just read something in Witchcraft, and part of me just kind of died inside, actually. I'm really sad.
Well, let's move on. Let's move on to Witchcraft. Raven's Wing no longer has a sweep attack, and it loses scoring if it does.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking for me.
But it was so good. It was so good when you could just Raven's Wing onto objectives. It was so good.
Oh no, the scoring part is not what I care about. It's the losing the sweep attack. The sweep attack actually was just such a solid free pickup. Losing that's a bit of a shame.
Oh,
but I agree with losing scoring. It was just something really strong with Raven's Wing, and I think actually a few editions of Raven's Wing ago, it lost scoring as well. So as someone who plays a lot of Raven's Wing, I agree that losing scoring is probably correct. I don't like losing the sweep attack, but
Deceptive Glamour I think went down a little bit in casting value.
I think the base version did, and I think the big version went up actually. But wheel turns is very good now.
Really? Because it can no longer affect both hit and to wound. It's only hit or wound.
Yes. But the big thing about it is it's an always now rather than a set to. So armies like Red Elves are locked at a 4-up now.
That's interesting.
So it's very good for armies that were key 3 and all of a sudden Elves or whatever hitting you or wounding you on 2s. This solves that problem. And also it affects characters. It doesn't just affect rank and file anymore.
Oh, interesting.
So wheel turns went from being kind of this finicky spell to just being an amazing combat protection spell. Like this is kind of Stone Skin.
Yeah, this is the new
in a
Stone
weird
Skin.
way.
Yeah.
So be careful about this spell, because also they can make you worse to hit.
Yeah.
Or
This
they
is
can
like-
make it easier for them to wound you. Like
This is
goblins
straight
can
up-
wound a
yeah.
T6 model.
This is a straight up like
Yeah.
anti-elf spell.
Yeah, this is a spell that the meek shall inherit. Peasants, skeletons, all that kind of stuff. This is incredible.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's actually much stronger than I thought it was.
So I guess I lost sweeping attack, but gained a better wheel turns. So I'll take it.
And there are some changes to magic items here. That's not what I'm looking at.
The one kind of little no-brainer is if you have a magic weapon, you have magic attacks.
Yeah, it's a small change.
So
Yeah.
Universally, every single magic weapon has the word gains magic attacks cut from it. Because it's obvious. It's obvious and needlessly wordy, so it's gone.
Blessed Inscription is now Eldritch Inscription. It's the same thing, but no more divine. Which makes me sad.
Yep, and it costs
way less.
Costs 40 now, so.
Yeah. Which makes my Minnow Warlord a little sad, but.
And Cleansing Light picked up divine.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Which I like. Divine and picking up divine and flaming on your attacks means you're geared to get through the special saves. So I could imagine seeing a few Cleansing Light great weapons start popping around.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Titanic Might is gone.
Titanic Might is completely gone. Whoop! Sorry, Sylvan Elves.
Yep, and sorry, Empire Cavalry pick. Once again, an unintended casualty of something that's not your battle. But
yeah, okay, that's it's not affecting me. I'm sure some Sylvan Elves are gonna be crying about it, but whatever.
I think Sylvan Elf players knew it was coming, but Empire players are probably blindsided instead. It looks like no changes to the armor.
No changes to the armor. Banner. Yep. There's nothing marking on here, but Rending Banner is gone.
Yep, Rending Banner is gone. So I guess the Empire loses something, and then they gain something.
Yeah.
One hand gives, one hand takes. Knights are good again.
Let's see here. Binding Scrolls went up 10 points, just fair.
Yep.
Book of Arcane Mastery is very different. Is now just additional. You get one additional learn spell from the 1 through 4 of your chosen path, and it can't take the hereditary.
Can't cast your hereditary. Can't cast is the important bit.
Yeah.
Because there are some wizards who always know it, which I thought was a workaround at first, but no, it's can't cast. But this is what I was talking about when I was saying there are some lores where I don't see why you'd ever need a master. Book of Arcane Mastery seems like it can look at a lot of lores and ask, does the 5 and 6 spell matter?
That's a good point.
And I think for a handful of the lores, it doesn't. So this is the cheapest master you're going to get.
Yeah,
it's just an adept with book.
It's an adept with 3 spells, which is nice. It just makes me sad. Like they're really cracking down on the apprentices running around with the old book, which was the +2 to cast, which I enjoyed in my my Beast Herd army a lot. So that makes me a little sad. No more +2 to cast.
I'm sad for the Asklander Bliss, no Comet Caddy anymore. Yeah. But no. It's a very good item. I think it's worse than the old item, but it's still very, very good.
Yeah, it's a completely different item. It's just a completely different item.
Yep. I think it's weird that it's the same price as Heirloom. I suppose they're the same spell, but it's weird that it's the same price as Heirloom. I could see a world where they're just one item, where a wizard, apprentice, or adept just knows an additional spell.
Yeah. It doesn't really make sense that they're 2 different spells, but anyway. Dragonfire Gem Dragonfire Gem went to a 3-up instead of a 2-up, which is fine. The 2-up against Flaming was really like bonkers strong. And Lightning Vambraces went down to 20 points.
I think from what I heard, there's no 2-up Aegis left in the game,
which is good.
The idea.
I completely agree with that. That's a good move.
My poor spirit hosts did nothing wrong, but that's for another day.
All right, so that's all of the Arcane Compendium. We're already at 50 minutes, so let's just plow through these books as quickly as we can. We are going to Dread Elves first. Let's look at the overall rules. Dude, did Academy Train change? I read through it and I don't remember what the old rule was.
I think it just cleaned up a little bit. It was a very wordy way to say more or less what they're saying now.
Yeah.
I think it's I'm sure there's some small nuance I'm missing, but it looks like it's just the rule has been cleaned up.
Yeah. Same with Coastal Predator. It looks the same to me.
Yeah, same with Coastal Predator. Hunting Bolus and Professional Courtesy went away. They were kind of clunky rules anyway.
That's fine. They changed the name of
magic weapons.
They changed the name of the Hereditary. It's now the Curse of the Phantom Queen, which I don't remember what it was before, but I like that name.
I thought it was Curse of the Phantom Queen before, but maybe I'm wrong.
It's blue. Okay.
All the magic weapons are the same. The
Except...
blue text is just the word magic attacks.
Yep.
There are a few point changes here and there.
Nothing crazy. Crazy.
Koranin Scales.
Yeah, it's now special
one
blitz.
that instead of wheel turns.
Is that an upgrade?
It's worse.
Yeah, it's worse.
No, because
I agree. Okay.
Nothing else is changed in magic items. There's some cleaning up.
Some points adjustments, but we're not gonna go deep into the points adjustments, but whatever.
The Dread Prince lost Deadly Riposte, which was a really fun rule, but very bookkeepy. So
he now just has Artistry of Death, which is the always +1 to wound.
Always +1.
What attacks did he have before? Did he have 4 or 6 attacks before?
I think he might have had 4 and Deadly Riposte. So now he lost Deadly Riposte and gained an attack.
Gotcha. Points changes. So Tactician, this is the Selexian officer. Well, the Academy trained, we joined commanding president.
He just passes out Academy Train the units that he joins.
Yeah, he bubbles it out. Yeah. Okay, fine.
Temple Exarch, you can now put 2 of them in the same unit.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sweet. The Warlock's the same. The Silent Assassin
gained Hidden, which is just Strike from the Shadows.
Yep. And
it's the generalized rule now.
This must be a typo, but Professional Courtesy is still on here. I guess it is. They made this a rule just for the assassins.
Oh, that's funny. Because they have the rule completely crossed out above it.
Yeah.
So that must just be a. Oh no, he has his own Professional Courtesy rule.
Interesting. So they still you still can't put 2 assassins in a unit. Big deal.
Yeah.
All right. Mounts are the same except for Manticore is exclusive, which means it can't join a unit.
Yeah, it's just dating who it's gonna date. It doesn't sleep around.
Good way of putting it. Academy trained is there. Is now on the spears. Wasn't it there before?
Yep. Yeah, I believe so. I guess it wasn't. Sure it was. Oh, it might have been called Academy Training before.
They just named it. They just changed the name. Big deal.
Yeah.
So, raiding
party is different. They're no longer light troops based.
But no, just the beast breakers. The beast breakers. Yeah, the beast breakers are no longer light troops.
Yep.
There's no longer hunting bolas. And the Corsairs, this is pretty good actually. Even
doubles fear.
Enemy units that are not immune to the effects of fear, and basically, it's double fear. If you get them into
seems really strong, but also kind of complicated to pull off.
Yeah, you got to pull off a combo charge with this unit and a monster or something that causes fear. But the altar still bubbles out fear.
And I think Mask of the Warcrow is still there, which gives the unit or the character fear. So
Double fear.
I can see this being pretty good, especially if you can get them to cause fear some way. Then you can like clip them into a combat and
Corsairs with the Altar of Slaughter would be a good combo.
Yeah.
Auxiliaries.
None of this sounds efficient enough. None of this sounds efficient enough to be a Dread Elf tournament list, so you'll never see it.
Suppressing fire, suppressing volley was gone. That was the weird thing where you could stand and shoot in certain situations.
No, it's like if the archers were in range and another unit charged the unit the archers were in range of, the unit like got -1 to hit the first round of combat. It was like some crazy rule that is really weird, complicated, and it's good. It's gone.
Yeah, I agree.
Quasi 40k rule can go away.
Shadow Riders no longer have hunting bolas. Okay, cool.
Warlock.
They now
Acolytes traded. I think they had Spectral Blades before, and now they have Ancestral Aid.
Not a big change.
Yeah. Obsidian Guard just have their words changed while the Senate is hold the line. So.
Yep, exactly. Harpies now have a sweeping attack.
But they are a bit slower, so it's interesting. It's an interesting change, and I think Harpies used to also have 2 attacks base. I think they had 3 attacks on the charge.
They only have 1 now.
Yep. So now there are only 2 attacks on the charge. So a few little downgrades, but picking up a sweeping attack isn't bad.
No, it's not bad at all, especially for a chaff piece. Like, that's fine.
Yep.
Oh, tell me they downgraded the Gorgons. No, they didn't.
They.
How many attacks did they?
3 attacks.
Well, how many attacks
they have? 3 attacks now, so I think they had 4 before.
Okay, so a little bit of a downgrade. They're still like auto included Dread Elf lists.
The entire Thunder Pack is blue.
So I think the big thing here is they completely lost impact hits.
Yes.
They went up in strength, and
they gained.
Yeah.
They gained attacks. Being AP1 though is rough.
Yeah. They were those units were getting pretty popular in Dread Elf lists. I was seeing them pretty often.
Yeah, I think a bunch of people just painted up a bunch of Thunder Packs for. I don't want to say nothing, but that's a rough change.
Yeah, it is a rough change. That is a rough change. Raptor Chariot seemed normal. Divine Altar.
Divine Altar got better?
So
Channel 3? Oh no, it always had Channel 3.
No, it always had Channel 3, yeah. The Mountains...
Yeah, no, it's just gained attached exclusive, pretty much.
It gives Frenzy,
It's just been cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah, that's cleaned up.
Because it had Frenzy before.
Yeah,
it had Frenzy before. So it's just cleaning up the unit entry.
Hunting Chariot seems the same. Repeater Battery is the same.
Lost everything lost Hunting Bolas.
Kraken is based. I think the big Kraken went down in points, but that's fine.
Yep.
Hydra is exactly the same.
Yeah, everything else is just little point shifts. Miss Leviathan got cheaper again.
Let me see here.
Okay.
Just a quick review of the points changes. Any big changes? Thunderpack went down 20 points.
Yeah, but Thunderpack is also a completely new unit, more or less. So
Divine Altar went down.
I think there's some good changes there. I don't think it's the changes a lot of people wanted to see come out of the Dread Elf book.
Yeah.
I feel like everything that was still very pushed is still very pushed.
They're still just as strong as they were. They're still just as strong as they were. There were some things kind of got to mix around, but for me, it's almost the same book.
Yeah, I think Thunderpack died for the sins of Gorgons,
but still, it's like, oh, they lost Thunderpack. They still have all these other things that are amazing. So it's like, it's still the same book. All right,
moving on to a book that's definitely not broken either.
Let's talk about KOE. Okay, Orisons.
So,
I read through Orisons and I couldn't spot a difference. I mean, the actual the mechanics are the same, right? But
no. So now Orisons have infinite range.
Oh shit, you're right.
Because they're not from a model with the blessing anymore. And what they do changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
There's no more fear.
Yeah, the effect change. Yeah.
But there's Orison of Discipline, which I can't imagine is going to last very long. Which is the unit's discipline is set to 9. The fact that you can put that anywhere kind of means you have, if you need it, an infinite general bubble.
They basically have I mean, I guess that does make sense for a KOE list because they're a spread out elite unit army.
No, but it's like for fleeing peasant units, you can set them to 9.
Oh. Because when do you pre-game secret?
At the start of a player turn.
Start of a player turn, you're right.
So now, like Yeoman Outriders are always coming back, right? Yep. Regardless. So I like the changes. I understand why it was changed. I think Orison of Discipline needs to be fixed, but the rest is good. Rest makes more sense to people who aren't KOE players, and that's what the goal was. Yeah,
the Orison of Striking makes sense. It prevents the rubber lancing, which was always the problem with KOE before. The Aegis 5-up makes sense. I'm not disappointed about the Discipline 9 thing. Like, it does make things a little more steadfast across the board, and that makes sense for KOE. Like, when your huge night bus fails a panic check and runs off the board, I guess that won't affect that. But rallying, I'm fine with this. I feel, and the thing I kind of like about this is if you can drop Sainted, which gets all 3 of these tokens, you can basically make any character in your army the general, which I think is a really cool mechanism. I think it's a really, really cool mechanism that they should explore all the game wide. That's just my opinion.
The one thing is it's at the start of each turn, so it's before declaring charges or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see that causing problems in tournament games. I can see you missing it.
Yeah, forgetting to do it, and then it turns into a thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I've declared my charges now. I've declared my charge reaction. Okay. And then you're like, oh, I didn't do my Orisons. And it's like, no, we're past that point.
I agree. It's an extra step in the game for KOE players that they might forget. Yeah, I get that.
And the KOE player has to be on it in their opponent's turn now. It's like, before you charge, this unit has +1 to hit. Okay.
Yeah.
KOE is not a drinking man's army.
All right, let's go down here. Face Spirit.
Blessing hasn't changed. Face Spirit is gone. Gallantry is just cleaned up a bit. Knight Banneret is not a mini character anymore. There's really no reason for it to be. Ordained is how you get blessing tokens.
Yeah,
So units have blessing tokens.
Either ordained or the hereditary. But then usually the models that are ordained are also Ordo Ministers, and this is the heal up a guy every turn.
Yeah, except now it used to be a free heal every turn. Now it costs you a blessing token to heal.
That makes sense. I get that.
Which is a pretty steep cost.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
there are very few models that have Ordo Minister, so it doesn't really matter. Prepared position used to be the weird dangerous terrain stakes for the bowman. It's now placing walls. So every single European tournament player will be happy. Because you gotta man that wall. Man that wall. Sainted is cleaned up.
Yep.
Pretty much it just had a ton of Orison stuff to remove.
Yep.
And replace with the new Orison stuff.
So the personal protections. Yeah.
Yeah, Courage is rough. It's now you go to Aegis 5 up rather than Aegis +1. Which means there's no more kind of free 4-up Aegis saves for knights. Which is probably correct, but...
It just hurts characters, basically, right?
Yeah, or like sometimes you could combine the old Orison token with... It just stops combos. Honesty is now just a flat 5-up save, which I think makes it better
Yeah,
than it was
it does.
before.
It does make it better.
And
then Ordeal
has changed yet again.
Wait, hold on.
So now it's as long as they're in a combat with friends, they have a 5-up Aegis. So they don't have to be in combat with knights or anything else. It's just if peasants are supporting somebody, the peasants have a better Aegis save.
Yep.
Yeah. I still feel like they can't figure out what they want to do with our Ordeal, so they just move it around every patch. But we're getting closer to something that makes sense.
Lance formation is the same thing. It's just they use the extra support rule now.
Yep. This one feels like this next rule feels like a Matt Paris thing.
Shout out to the Penrose Scott guys.
Mounts now have supporting attacks. Which great. Like if I'm gonna have a strength 4 horse that I'm probably paying for.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I'd rather get to attack with all of them.
Again, it's not game breaking, so it's fine.
Yep.
Bastard Sword made it a lot simpler.
Pretty much all you need to know is it's +1 strength devastating charge. It's no longer can be used as a spear.
Yeah.
That's it.
I love that change. It makes it just so much simpler.
Yeah, I would honestly have liked this patch to not have the crossed out text because there's so much crossed out text for the Bastard Sword that it makes it really hard to read. But no, it's the change that needed to happen.
Yeah.
Breath of the Lady just has its words changed. The weapons don't really have any changes besides Mortal Reminder gives you Terror now, which was the combo anyway with Orisons. Fortress of Faith clears up that you have to be using the shield. And then Black Knight's Tabard is the only other real change, which just uses the word immune, and it's immune to multiple wounds.
Yep.
Which is what it was anyway, but now it's in line with the actual wording.
Makes sense. All right.
And there's a bunch of point changes.
Damsel is no longer just generates an Orison token.
Yep, because no, she still does. Oh.
No, she doesn't.
Oh no, she doesn't. She doesn't have.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. It's harder to get blessings than I thought. Interesting.
Equitainian Lord.
Pretty much the Paladin has been split into a new unit entry for him. The honors have changed a little bit, or the knightly principles. So honor gives you another maximize on your charge roll. But pretty much you have to be charging by yourself. So it's just for the hippogriff. Forbearance got a bit cleaner. Used to be distracting outside of the first round of combat. Now it's as long as you're using a shield, you're distracting.
Fair enough, yeah.
Faith gains divine attacks, which isn't bad. And you make Orison tokens. Or no, you get a rebate on Orison tokens.
Yeah.
And then generosity is really weird because rank and file models you're joined to with courage get Bastard Sword and Weapon Master, which generosity used to be you were like a mini general for peasants.
Yeah.
And now it's any unit of knights he's joined to, he gives all his buddies a Bastard Sword.
It's interesting.
They might be taking the name generosity a little too literally for this upgrade.
So you give the generosity to this character, you put him in peasant levies, and so peasant levies.
He does nothing for peasants. No, it's just for knights now. It's courage. So what he does now is joins like Knights of the Realm and lets them fight in the second round of combat.
Gotcha, makes sense.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like a gimmick, but Paladin's his own dude now. He's not a leader, kind of just this weird combat character.
Yeah, it's interesting. Righteous Smite, reroll, failed to close combat attacks against which the target has special saves must be rerolled. So he has like built-in divine, but with fortitude also.
No, he rerolls failed. He has kind of built-in old blessed inscriptions.
Yeah,
because he rerolls the failed to wound rolls. He's a weird model. He kind of existed before, but
it's yeah. He gets a reroll to wound against something with a special save. Okay, interesting.
The folk hero hasn't really changed at all. Like numbers have moved around, but the folk hero is still the best choice in the character book.
Yeah. I can't.
Yeah, he's just been brought in line with everything else.
All right, heraldic steed gets devastating support
so
2 attacks.
And has extra support 3. So the heraldic steeds in the second rank get their full attacks, and it lost impact hits. It's pretty good now. I think it's better than the Pegasus accidentally because it has hard target.
Yeah.
But oopsie poopsie. Revered Unicorn got better, which makes me super happy because the Unicorn was already the secret best character mount. So now it's moved 10-20 with Strider. And it got cheaper for both characters that can take it, so great.
Just flying around the board, yeah.
All the other mounts are the same.
So the Fae Spirit special rule is gone, so the Fae stuff just got Fearless, basically?
Yeah. Because the Fae Spirit was like a weird Aegis save and Fearless, and now it's just Fearless.
Yeah. No big changes in core.
So there's actually 2 big changes in core. The first one is Ordo Sergeants gained armor 2. So if they're using a great weapon, they have a 3-up, and if they're using light lance shield, they have a 2-up.
And they got the Ordo Minister, so they heal themselves if you drop Orison tokens, or if you drop blessing tokens.
And they still have hatred base, so I think they accidentally made them better than feudal knights again.
Whoops.
And the true dagger to my heart, longbow, lowborn archers lost accurate. Moment of silence for the most broken core unit in the game. And moving on. They can now shoot in the 3rd and 4th ranks. Hooray.
Whatever.
Yeah. But the crossbow is now free for them, which is interesting. but I think losing accurate is the death sentence for that unit.
Yeah, maybe.
But it means I'll stop sending you lists that have 90 peasant bowmen in it.
Please, God, yes. Men at Arms.
Men at Arms haven't really changed.
Yeah, they just been a bunch of clarification stuff in there.
Yeah, the Sacred Reliquary gained attached and exclusive.
Yep, makes sense.
So pretty much what it had before. It went up in points, which is interesting. Knights Resplendent went down in points. Knights Penitent. They lost Ordo Minister, which is actually one of the things that made them good. And their horse got weaker. Their horse used to be Strength 5, AP 1.
Oh yeah, I remember I was talking with Mark about this, and this was supposed to be like the huge, like Clydesdales horses.
Yep.
And now they're not really that big of horses.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna get stuck into that unit. Knights of the Quest picked up an extra 10 points a model, which I still don't think is enough. Gonna have to do better than that. Hedge Knights. So Hedge Knights, I already thought they were incredibly good, and now I think with these really subtle changes, they've actually moved into even more something folks should be paying attention to, because they picked up Light Lance. And Light Lance means on the charge, they're Strength 5 AP 2, 2 attacks apiece, Hatred, Battle Focus. So they're kind of secretly Minotaur.
Wow.
Yeah, and they've paired weapons, so if you charge them, they don't have Hatred and Battle Focus anymore, but they still just pump out a ton of Strength 4 attacks.
So this is also the weird special rule. If they have the 2 weapon types in the unit entry, they're not weapon masters, so they can't switch around their weapons during combat. But when they charge in the first round of combat, they have to choose Light Lance or paired weapons and stick with it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So they stick with it until the end. But it means if they get charged, they can put out a bit more, or if for some reason you don't need the Light Lance, you can put out a bit more hurt.
Yeah, makes sense.
And apparently they are riding corn now instead of horses, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeoman Outriders, pretty much the same. The extra models are super cheap. The extra models are super cheap now.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I'm kind of worried about the Orison setting to 9, is they're real cheap now. Hooded Men, it's just another way to get more archers.
Yeah. It's more shooting.
I guess you can scout with crossbows now, which is kind of interesting. And drop more walls. They can buy prepared positions, so you can scout walls all over the place.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Let's see here.
Treb. So the siege weapon, the trebuchet, they kind of are moving towards fixing it. They're making it a 4x4 template now.
What was it before? It was a weird like 3x6 or something.
3x8 before. So it's anti-rat and anti-nothing else, really.
Well, anti-skeleton and zombie, but yeah.
Yeah. Now it's kind of a bit more standardized. Somehow it's still worse than the Scorpion is.
The Scorpion's just fantastic. Like you can't. It's so good. It's better than a cannon.
Yes. Yeah. It gets to keep its clipped wings. Pegasus Knights lost in armor. They are no longer a 2-up.
Only a 3-up armor. Interesting.
Which I think time will tell, but that might be an actual death sentence when Sky Heralds have the same armor as them now, have hard target, and kind of fight as hard as they do now.
Yeah, I agree.
And have a longer charge range. I don't know.
Scout Heralds are just better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Moving on, Naiads. Naiads got a bit more standardized. They got the special ambush rule, and they lost Phase Spirit and Water Spirit, and they picked up Healing Waters, which they used to have some other druidisms. Oh, they used to have the Forest Druidism spell. I'm not sure how good Healing Waters is in KoE, but
Yeah, it's not that good. That's the 5-up Fortitude, right?
yeah, especially because now with the new Druidism, you're really incentivized to have a Druid Master in KoE anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. Naiads feel like one of those conclaves that they just gave them a bunch of spells that don't matter. And they keep getting cheaper, but spells are still the same, so.
Yeah, I don't see why you'd take that. The Friar's Lantern. This was a really good model.
Yep. He got cheaper, and he remained the same. So they still haven't caught Old Tom yet. So just move on before someone takes the Friar's Lantern away from me. The Ladies Courtier calmed down a little bit. They made her a lot slower. She used to be 816.
Yeah.
She's pretty much just like a Blazing Glory except better.
Yeah.
So they tried to bring it in a little bit. And finally the Fey Knight got Special Ambush and Fearless, which he kind of had. He was the first one to have Special Ambush anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
overall, I'd
Scroll down any
say it's good.
big changes to points that we want to point out. Point changes.
I think the main one is just the Questing Knight hike. Like going
Yeah.
up 10 points is a big jump.
Yeah.
Overall,
No,
I think this is a bunch of
15 points.
15. Oof. I'll still pay it. Overall, I think it's a bunch of very good changes. I think it's a bunch of changes the community was asking for. And as someone who plays a lot of KoE, I don't think it's backbreaking. So, unlike the Dread Elf one, I think this is a real nail on the head.
Yeah, I agree. It's the right amount of nerfing. It's not the nerf bat, but it's a little bit. It's a tone down, which is good.
Yep, while still giving the book something.
Yeah.
Something new.
Let's move on
Okay.
to my book, The Saurian Ancients. Ooh. I'm excited
This
about
entire book is blue, Kenny. This entire book is blue.
So first up, the Cayman Mentors. This replaces the whatever the rule is called, where it was other units joining other units. Now it's just Caymans can be joined into other units. And the other situations where monsters were joining units, they are now an upgrade to make them a war platform. So the big change there is the war platforms now have to be in the center of the unit. Kind of messes up my skink blender, but still gonna test it out. Let's see here. Communal Bond. The big change here is everyone has minimized rolls now. No more if you're outside of the bubble, you don't get cold-blooded. Everyone has cold-blooded. Boop, 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 boop.
Oh.
So that
is a very good change for the book.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The Enclave Wizard, it just drops it. It basically, the big change is you lose channel 1 with Enclave Wizards that only have 1 spell. If you have 2 spells, you get the channel.
Yeah.
But that's the only real change. Yeah.
And it gains Stand Behind.
Oh, that is new. I didn't see that.
Yeah, it means they can't murder your champion.
Interesting. That's interesting. That's actually good for my skink blender. Okay, cool. Solitary went away because
Means no sticks though.
means no
No champ sticks.
Yeah, but those champ sticks were dumb. I ran them and they were dumb. Solitary is covered in the main rulebook.
Yep.
Predator senses is just
They added shooting?
yeah, they added shooting, but I can't think of a unit that has predator senses that has shooting.
So you're telling me when we scroll down, the Carnosaur won't have a cannon all of a sudden?
No, it does not. I might be wrong about that, but we'll see. The weapons didn't change. So big change here. Enlightenment, the boosted version, doesn't do minus to hit and minus to wound. You basically get to choose either one now, -1 to hit or -1 to wound.
Interesting, but it got cheaper, didn't it?
Yeah. The boosted version used to be a 12+, but now it's an 8+. So you're choosing. It's a more utilitarian spell. No, it's not more. It's still a utilitarian spell. It's still pretty good, but it's not as good as it was.
I will say what I said during our review. This is one of the best spells in the game.
Ooh, still? You're still putting that label on it?
Still.
Okay, fair enough.
Especially because now it can be combined with pyromancy. Sorry.
Let's see here. These are the how to device. Okay, we need to talk about the how to devices. There's some point shifts, there's some rewording. The big one is the Suncatcher Crystal. We got to talk about this. This is a big change. Before, the Suncatcher Crystal was like a shooting weapon, whatever. Now, this is a 0 to 3 in your army. So the unit of 3 Thyroscutuses, you can drop them 1, 2, 3 on one unit. And the way I'm reading this is in each round of combat, you choose one of two effects. One, all friendly infantry models gain Fortitude +1, max to 3+, for each model with Suncatcher Crystal engaged in the same close combat. So if I'm reading this right, I have a skink unit in combat with an enemy that's also touching my 3 Thyroscutuses with 3 Suncatcher Crystals. Those skinks have a 3-up Fortitude.
Yes. The one weird thing is it's on like 50 mil bases and the model has to be in contact. So the Thyroscutus unit can't be like clipped into the corner. You have to have 150
No.
worth of...
It says for each model with Suncatcher Crystal engaged in the same combat. Not touching base to base, engaged in the same combat.
Okay. So since the unit's engaged, each model will give the... Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm way more excited about the second version. Which is the 2d3 grinds.
Really? I think, as long as I'm not facing Infernal Dwarves, I think the first option changes the game for my skink army.
Yeah, it is very, very good.
But you are paying
63 strength 4 grinds out of a Thyroscutus unit is a pretty kind of just nasty... it's like build your own hoarders, pretty much.
It's interesting. The other
no,
time,
this is definitely an upgrade.
Yeah, it's definitely an upgrade. The Suncatcher Crystal was like, I tried it once. It was just another shooting. Like the magnetic great bows are way better. So why take the Suncatcher Crystal? This makes it really interesting. It's still 620 points to field the unit, but if I get that bonus, does that mean it also gives a 4-up Fortitude to itself?
No, because it's not infantry.
Okay, yeah, true. So it's just interesting. I definitely might test it.
It's not standard infantry, so you could turn Crocs into trolls.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Ooh, yeah, I'm on board. With this. This seems good.
That's a good point.
I also want to point out Carved Wisdom has Master of Earth as one of its spells now, which, come on, it's 6-inch range. Come on now.
Also, Engine of the Ancients, which is the 2x2 splash weapon, is now 0 to 3, so you could run the 3 Thyroscutus unit with 3 Engines of the Ancients. Something to consider. I don't know.
Oh, and they're March and Shoot.
Yep.
Yeah.
So are magnetic great bows.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And great bows are still range 18. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's
I
interesting.
don't know. It makes them better, at least in contention with the great bow, which before outshone every other shooting weapon.
Yeah. Magic weapons, nothing important changes here.
Nope.
Armor enchantments. This Vital Essence is completely different. It's now light armor upgrade. It gives you a 4-up fortitude and +1 health point. It's a defensive build. You might see this.
Yep.
You might see that on a Tegu veteran.
The cool thing about it is being able to use a great weapon with it now, I think.
Yeah. Starfall Scales is just rewording. But this is the big one.
Has that big scary word immune.
It just turns off. It just turns off flaming. They should change immune to turn off. And then
Septic Stele is dead. Thank God.
Dead. It was a cool.
What a goofy item.
Would you be fine if it just would have made it divine?
Yes, I would have.
Also, this is actually a significant thing here. Koru Stone went down in points by 25, and the range went up to 12 inches.
Oh, I noticed it got cheaper. I did not notice it got bigger.
Yeah, that's pretty significant. I think that's going to be your be your BSB in every army.
Yeah, it's so much easier to protect than the monster is.
Yeah. Let's see here. Ancient Plaque. Okay,
Ancient Plaque got a big nerf.
Big nerf, and the point value did not go down. You can only use this either in your magic phase or in their magic phase, not in both. That hurts.
Also, I know we're getting rid of bookkeeping, but this seems to add bookkeeping.
Yeah, it's true.
Where like on the long game turn, it's like, oh no, you did reroll with Ancient Plaque. It's like, oh yeah, okay, never mind. Can't reroll that Dispel. And then Heart of Attune is gone.
Atua, but
that was
no
just
one...
a compound unit upgrade.
Yeah, no one ever used it, to be honest. Anuarch, it went up or down in points? I can't remember. I think it went up.
It went up and its discipline went down.
Discipline 2.
But it's channel 2 now.
That's what it was before. It's just rewording it.
No, because it had channel 1 before and Wizard Master. Now it's channel 2 and Wizard Master.
Oh snap! I just realized that.
So it picked up a Veil token along the way.
That's all right. It's interesting. Astrological Mastery went away. Forbidden Mastery went up to 100 points, which completely makes sense because everyone was using it.
Well, and Pyromancy got better.
Yep. So now they have triple. If you take Pyro Forbidden Mastery, you have +1 to wound and -1 to wound, and the Hereditary gives you the option to do +1 to wound or -1 to wound.
And you have Druidism if you want it to do. Yeah, it's Forbidden Mastery may have gone up to 100 points, but I still think it's the best choice. The only way to make Forbidden Mastery balanced is make it go up to 101 points, just so it can't be taken anymore at this point.
Whew, that's still going to be taken almost every time, I think.
Yeah, they might as well just line out the other masteries.
Mind Shifting Mastery used to be the Protean magic one. Now it's you can choose. Every time you cast a spell, you can choose the attribute from Alchemy, Divination, Druidism, or Witchcraft.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Especially because the Druidism attribute doesn't really matter as much anymore, and the divination attribute is incredible.
And the alchemy, you cannot run alchemy spells and then do the alchemy combo with flaming banners.
Oh, I didn't even notice alchemy was on that list. I just saw DDW. Yeah, no. Frog is still probably a 1+.
Whatever. I'm running a no character list next. But anyway. Telepathic Mastery is the same. Yeah, that's it. Cayman Master went down by 10 points. It's still exclusive. Oh, wait, this is...
He gained Strider Water.
The whole army, like at least the majority of the army, has Strider Water now, and it makes me so happy inside. I'm so happy they put that back. It's not going to change the game at all. It's not going to change the game at all, and it's super flavorful. I think they should have some sort of spell or some sort of magic item that allows you to place a water feature on the table, like the forest with beast herds and sylvans. That should totally be in there, but that's just me. Let's see here.
Well, I'm sure next patch it'll be right there.
Take a veteran, same skink characters, the same.
He lost an agility, and he lets skink vets Vanguard.
No. He went up in agility. They used to be.
Oh, I thought it was 6.
No, it was 6. It was 6 in before the new book. But skinks went from 4 to 3, and characters went from 6 to 4. Now they're 5.
But vanguarding the skink vets is pretty good, right?
Well, joined. No, that's yeah. That's and/or skink veterans. Well, what are skink veterans?
Yeah. They're the combat ones, right?
Is it a new? Did I just completely miss the skink veteran part? We'll get there. And/or skink vet. Where's skink veterans? I am losing my mind. Okay. Mounts
the Anarch Warden gives it discipline 8, so your frog goes from 2 to 8.
Yes.
If he's got his friends with him.
Yes.
The Sky Tyrant lost high altitude.
But it got the special ambush to open terrain, so it can ambush anywhere.
But I can't incidentally pick up my random model and have it never come back down again, Kenyon. I'm so sad.
Wait, how does it has the special ambush and Vanguard 6 inches? Interesting.
Oh yeah.
I'm still not gonna take that, but whatever.
No.
Let's see. Moving on. So this is the whole thing down on the left with you can now add caimans to the unit. My one question is these caimans. For instance, let's go to the warriors real quick. These caiman warriors, if you take caiman warriors into a skink warrior unit, does that count toward the caiman warriors max models per army?
Yes. Look at the asterisk underneath the point cost. The models count towards the maximum number of caiman allowed from core.
It's written right in front of me. The other change here is skinks went down to discipline 5, which is whatever, they're skinks. And also their Wizard Enclave changed from Healing Waters to Entwining Roots. That's not it's not a game breaker, but it's interesting. Yeah.
You are right. The warriors are not veterans. I wonder what veterans are.
Yeah, I don't know what veterans are. That might be a typo. I don't remember seeing a new unit type, so. Well, is that just the name of the character? Is that just the name of the character?
Oh, it's the name of the character.
Oh.
Oh, so he didn't give himself Vanguard before. Or he didn't give his buddies Vanguard before.
That's what it was.
Okay.
Interesting. So
every day's a school day.
You can now Vanguard a skink character bus with the gorillas, like 4 skink characters. Which I don't see the point of doing that.
Did Cayman go up or down points? The unit itself.
Inside the unit, they're 85 points, and the unit is 50 points a model. I can't remember what they were before. I feel like they went down.
Scroll they went exciting radio. They went up.
Okay.
They used to be 45.
One thing to note, the tooth and claw is still the same, so it's still lightning reflexes, still lethal strike, which is really good.
I will say this now. Play that unit until they take it away from you. Every single Lizardman player. It is one of the best core units in the game.
It's true. That is true. Moving on here. Tegu Guard. This is a big change. Tegu Guard can no longer have Cayman Elders in it.
Oh.
That was
a big change.
That was a very common bunker that Saurian Ancient players were doing, was Tegu Guard, 3 Cayman Elders, and the Quaddle in the back, or the Anuark in the back. So that no longer can be done, which is interesting. Beyond
I think
that,
great weapons got more expensive for them.
Yes, they did. Which I learned in my last tournament.
8 points seems steep.
What I learned in my last tournament, not worth it. Just hand, weapon, shield. Let's see. Tegu Mystics. They got Fountain of Youth, which is the heal 1 or D3. I don't know. People haven't really approached this unit yet. I haven't seen it on the board yet.
Yeah, Conclaves are such a weird unit to work around, because, as I said before, if their spells are great, you'll see them all the time. But when their spells are kind of just all over the place, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well,
and also you're paying for combat rules on a unit that doesn't want to see combat. I don't think.
The one interesting thing about Tegu Mystics is they have Break the Spirit, which is another -1 to hit.
Yep, and they have the Hereditary, so I suppose for crazy people who don't want to play characters in their Saurian lists, you have a decent magic base.
Yeah. Raptor Pack, I think, went down a little bit in points.
Yep, and it looks... Oh no, that's still, if you have any of the upgrades,
you can't
towards core.
You can't count towards core.
I thought you always counted towards core. I was like, finally. Raptor Riders got cheaper?
Slightly, it's got to be slightly. Yeah. Cayman Elders. Pretty much the same. Oh no, this is the big deal. This is the big deal. They picked up one
2 spells.
Yeah, no, they had 2 spells before. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Okay. But the big thing here is they're Discipline 8 now, which means you can get Discipline 8 without running Tegu Guard.
And they can take the Koro Stone, too.
Yep.
Yeah. But they come out of the same thing to take from core, or your core allotment. So.
What do you mean? Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Oh, does that mean
so
the core ones are Discipline?
Overindulge.
The core ones are Discipline 8 also. Interesting.
Are they?
Yeah, I mean, it's just...
Core ones are Discipline 8?
It just says for Tegu Warriors, they can add Cayman Elders, which are Discipline 8.
Yep.
So you can get Discipline 8 and core that way. It's interesting.
Yep.
Let's see here. Thyroscutus Herd. They are now stubborn and fearless.
That's huge.
But it's
and
only
rank and file.
Only if they have 2 or more models in the unit. If it's a single model, they're not stubborn.
Yeah. Here comes the Thyroscutus stick.
Yeah, really. Let's see.
The conga line.
Ramphidons, I think, went down a little bit in points. Okay, Saurian swarms. We gotta talk about these guys. These guys have officially become better than the swarms from UD. They're poison. They have 3 attacks in the back rank, and they have predatory senses, so they get reroll to wound marked units. Reroll to hit, I'm sorry.
Oh, predatory sense is good for them.
Yep, they are now.
Did not notice that.
They are now re-rolling to hit poison attacks. With if you do a full unit of 6, that is 15 plus 9 is 24. 24 attacks re-rolling to hit poison.
And they picked up Swift Stride, and I think they were Res 1 for a second, right?
Ooh, I don't remember that. Whatever, they're
Res 2 now. I don't think they were Res 3, so I think
yeah.
but
And they
picking up Swift Stride too is really good.
Yeah. Wait, where's the Swift Stride?
They're beasts.
Oh, that's where it is. That's interesting. I think I'm definitely gonna run these guys. They're good, and they're rerolling to hit poison with AP 1. It's a monster killer.
Also, Scout is pretty cheap on them.
Mm-hmm.
Which now that they're fearless and move 6, they can actually do quite a bit with Scout. Yeah, no, this unit's good.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna start running this unit for sure. Skink Gorillas, no big change here. The blowpipes went up and the magnetic shortbows went down, which makes sense. The blowpipes are way better. Okay.
Oh my God.
Weapon beasts. Here we go.
There's your predatory senses for shooting.
No, these guys don't have predatory senses, do they? Oh, the spearbacks get. Oh, they get predatory senses. I didn't catch that. So now, predatory senses get re-rolled to hit, but they only have 3 shots apiece now. But they're strength 5 AP 2 and only 12-inch range, hitting on 3s.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that they messed around with the spearback and left the salamander.
Well, they
more or less the same.
They changed the salamander. It is now strength 4 instead of strength 3, which is a big change.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and also, and also I looked this up.
Salamander can't join skinks anymore.
Nope,
right?
There's no longer the combined unit. Same with the swarms. The swarms can no longer join the skinks, but
yeah, I think they need to go back to the drawing board for salamanders again.
No, I think strength
having
4,
the breath weapon and the skink.
Because it says you can use the breath weapon every player turn. So in every round of combat, you can blow flames.
Yeah, but you're not surviving more than 1 round of combat.
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
I do like also the fact that you have to pay for salamander.
And you can only have 2 of them in the army.
I don't know. Yeah, there's too much fear for the flamethrower, but I do like the change to the spearback. 2d6 shots was always kind of
too swingy. Yeah.
Yeah, and being high strength now seems pretty good.
Yeah, but I didn't realize.
Oh my goodness!
What's next?
Pterodon riders gain special ambush
to the Titanopod
from the Titan pod. Yeah,
I love it. Woohoo! That's a funny rule. I don't know when I'm ever gonna use it, but it's funny. Oh.
Well, when your Titanopod is fleeing and you need to block it from getting countercharged, you can special ambush off.
Okay, there you go. That's the majority of what's happening with the Pterodon. Let's see here. The Stygiosaur pack.
Stig pack got better.
Got better. It did get better. It went up and it significantly went in points, which it needed to. And now it also has the Enclave Wizard.
Yeah, with the Hereditary.
Which
having a Res 5 model with the hereditary is very scary.
Yep. I think they're really good.
Yep. They somehow got better.
Yeah, that's for me, that was the one surprise in the book. I mean, they definitely jacked up the points. It's like, I think 20 plus points more for an additional Stygisaur model. So they really jacked up the points, but I'm surprised they didn't nerf it harder. It's a really good unit. Yeah. Also with the giant magnetic bows on the Thyroscutus, they didn't nerf that.
No one knows about it yet. The secret filth.
How does no one know about that? Carnosaur. Yeah, it's just weird wording.
Yep, gained war platforms, so you can't raise it from the dead.
Yep, they got rid of that rule with that mess up. Yeah. Taurosaur is the same. Titanopod. It just has a deafening clamor, and it changed their stomps to 5d3 instead of 4d3.
Yep, and it lost a very cool rule name and replaced it with deafening clamor.
It can also pursue now. Before it could not pursue. Yeah.
I still don't think it solves its problem of not having stubborn. Every game I've seen with this thing so far, it's just decided to not be in combat. It just runs away. I would like to see either fearless or stubborn or something on this.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think this is a model that people are excited about, but not a model that'll stand the test of time.
Yeah, people are excited about it. Okay.
Overall, I mean, I don't play lizards, but I think the changes are positive.
It's I thought there would be a bigger nerf stick, and there wasn't. I think it changed.
Being someone who played ID at the beginning of that book's lab, I see lizard players kind of going through the stages of waiting for the other shoe to drop. They're like, oh god, next update's coming. You're just like, yep, it's gonna be bad. But it hasn't been bad so far.
It wasn't that bad. They fixed. I think they made the salamanders better, which I was hoping for, and I thought they would nerf the Stygiasaurs and the Thyroscutus giant bow units, and they didn't really. So. All right.
And last one book is the book I know nothing about.
Same here. The Dirty Rats. If you want to know, if you want to go through a real book review of this book, go over to Skaven and AZ's channel, and I'm sure he's going to do a book review.
I'm pretty sure you'll be able to stick your head out a window and hear him yelling about the book, so you don't even have to go to his channel.
All right, let's get into this. Tunnel Reserves. It's just renaming it.
It's just Special Ambush Tunnel now. Born into Battle is
now
gone,
which
is attached.
Holy Triumvirate
somehow has changed. I don't know how. Without Number is gone.
Yeah, so this was the rule where
I think is the back
slaves.
From the dead.
Yeah, the slaves just keep coming back when you kill the unit.
The mishap table got a little bit more punishing.
Yeah, which is good. It needed to.
Yeah. But Trial and Terror got a bit better by just gaining universal +1 to wound.
All the different weird,
things like the catapult. It makes all the template shooting very, very good.
Mm-hmm. They simplified it. They've simplified it. Yeah, you notice on all the weapons, the Trial and Terror has been scratched out.
Yep. The model gains. Oh, so the Giselles are like kind of insulated from the Trial of Terror wounds, which is interesting. But yeah, all the weapons are very streamlined.
Canister launcher got it changed to a 3x2. What was it before?
I assume it was like a 3x3. That's my guess. Yeah, it was a 2x2 that could become a 3x3. So they just met in the middle.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay.
All right, the
Looks like
hereditary.
they didn't change the hereditary.
Nope.
They gave the thing skirmisher.
So it's got a bigger footprint
Even
now.
more confusing.
Yeah.
Oh god. There's so much blue text.
That's the Doomblade went up to 160. And
Yes, it went
and the
up.
wielder cannot take any other special items, so that means no more Doomblade
Potion of Swiftness.
with Potion of Swiftness. Yeah.
Why not? All right. I know I'm not on design, but why not just make the Doomblade 110 points then, and say you can't take any other items? Why
know.
make it cost more and add another restriction to it?
I don't know.
I don't like the weapon, but
It also-
I don't know why.
Another change here is it's the strength is always set to 10. So there's wheel turn
if
still affects
somehow
it.
you could.
Yeah.
Yeah, wheel turn still affects it. Yeah, everything still affects it. I think it's. I don't know why that's there. I guess it's for the AP, maybe, because the AP is always set to 3. I don't know. For some reason, the Storm Rocket is back from the Nightmares of 8th edition. They're like, oh yeah, you know what? People loved the Storm Rocket.
And it's not one use only. It's all the time.
No, it is not. That seems very. Why does it have volley? Okay, I'm not even gonna ask. just move on.
Banner of the Last Storm went away.
Yep, and Bell of the Deep Roads, which is the other weird magic banner, is now just special ambush.
Yep, makes sense.
Let's see what else is going on. The Cult of the Apostate cannot be combined with Crown of the Wizard King anymore.
Woo!
Which
That
makes me both sad and happy.
It makes complete sense though. That was so good.
It was the greatest rules loophole I think Nightage had. And I loved it, but yeah, I needed to go. Crown of Hubris somehow has changed. I don't know how. Map of the Deep Roads, or Map of the Deep, lets you blow up the tunnel markers, which is what I thought it already did.
Yeah, they just reworded it.
Oh, okay. And now you can take 2 Order's Togas.
Yeah, makes sense. Fine, makes sense.
Guess the Order was kind of a bigger dude.
Ruinous Dictator. So, this is a change. The Ruinous Dictator counts towards the Triumvirate now.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and it makes sense too. He is a wizard.
He's still a bit rough price-wise and having to be the general, but at least now he doesn't also like kind of devastate how many points you have to spend on your magic phase.
Yeah. I think that's a good change. That's a good change.
They still have the Star Wars prequel puns. Yep, still have the Star Wars prequel puns. Great.
Vermin Senator is what?
He now, if he's the general, has 18-inch bubble. I think there is a little wording confusion where if he wasn't the general, does he still have the 18-inch Compendium presence bubble?
Oh, that's
doesn't matter.
that's ticky tacky.
Yeah.
House Prefect went down, I think, in points.
And giving lightning reflexes doesn't hurt the unit anymore.
Is that
which is good.
The Alchemist?
The Alchemist.
That's pretty damn good. And then the Stygian Overseer, it gives you another, and it can move tunnel markers.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Thus, Blade Assassin lost all the assassin rules because the assassin rules are standardized.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
That's the only change. Character mounts are all the same. Yeah.
Yeah, they gained attached and attached and exclusive.
Yeah, and deafening clamor
Wow.
to the sacred platform, the bell, basically.
Yeah.
Vermin Legionnaires just have shield.
They now get so they get the shield base and get the spear for free now.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. That's fine.
Just cleaned it up. Cleaned it up a bit.
The Black Fur veterans just like cleaned up their rule. It's just when they're in line formation, they get to reroll 1s to wound.
Yep. So it lost the weird plus armor.
Yeah.
Formation. Cannon fodder's kind of a new rule. I'm not sure it makes up for losing without number, and it seems to once again move this book towards being a true gun line.
Let's see. Shooting attacks against enemy units in base contact. Oh, it just helps you with the callus rule.
Yep.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
Stalkers are the same.
Plague Disciples picked up Fearless and Swift Stride, which isn't bad.
They get Swift Stride if they have a character in it with them.
Yeah.
Giant rats took away. They just simplified giant rats. There's no more dire rats, which is fine.
Yep. Yeah, the few people had those Forge World models.
Yeah.
Learn to live.
Vermeil Brutes just got some adjustments. The drill team.
Paired weapons.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which I don't know if picking up paired weapons matters too much, but hey,
Good
free.
Go for it.
The drill team can't pop out of units now,
Yes, I think that makes complete sense.
which is cool.
The Grenadiers
got
they had to have gone up
smaller.
points. Yeah, they only get 5 guys.
Yeah, you can't get the 15 packs anymore.
Yeah, makes sense. They were really good. They were really, really good.
Yeah.
Experimental battle teams points got adjusted a little bit.
The Doom Spark went up, but Trial and Terror got better, so that makes sense to me.
Yeah, instead of bubbling, you can +1 strength, which is way better.
Oh, I thought it always bubbled.
No.
Oh, no. Then I don't know if it got better. I thought it was always a bubble.
No. I think it's not a huge upgrade, but it is an upgrade for them.
Yeah. The artillery, so the catapult got way better because of the Trial and Terror change.
Yep, and the cannon got better because it's
5x5.
and the cannon or the Moss rifle is multiple wounds D3 +1 now.
Yep, and you can have 0 to 3 of the cannon instead of 0 to 2.
That'd be interesting. Triple
Yeah.
cannon. That's interesting. Yeah, because no one was taking the cannon, so that's I'm cool with them helping it out.
I'm still sad that the name is a pun, but why is it called a mouse rifle? Like, please, come on.
Come on, we need a little humor in this game.
Yeah, not puns. Not puns and prequel memes.
Dreadmill chariots went up in movement or down?
You could tell me either way and I'd believe you. I don't think I've ever seen one on the table. But my gut says they got cheaper for the single ones. 115 points seems pretty cheap.
Arena Beasts are exactly the same. All right, so that's it.
That's it. A lot of changes coming down for 9th for the kind of flagship books right now and the Arcane Compendium. But
overall pleased,
I don't
overall
think it's
not pleased.
I'm super pleased with the magic changes. I think the magic changes besides Druidism, which I think really remains to be seen, are all positive. I wish the Dread Elves had changed a bit more, and I wish the Rats had changed a bit less, I think. But other than that, I think it's pretty good. It's a pretty good change.
I'm pretty pleased with all the changes. I think I echo what you said. I think the Dread Elves needed a little bit more of a change. I think the Vermin Swarm is still pretty good, so I'm happy with where it is. The Saurian Ancients got some big changes, and I think they were good. It nerfed them a little. Maybe it didn't nerf them at all. I think they're kind of where they were before. But it changes. It changes how the army plays in some spots.
I think with the Pyromancy change, Saurians actually got better.
Yeah,
But I think it's still one of the true up-and-coming books right now. So I think it's the book to watch, but I think it's going to be a very turbulent ride.
Fair enough.
Playing the Saurians for the next couple of months. As far as being a KOE player, I think every KOE change was justified. I think that book came out a bit too fast and too loud. I'm sad archers got nerfed, but it always needed to happen.
Yeah, true. So this is just part one of the changes. We still have 2 more chunks of books to come out changed. I'm looking forward to what they're gonna do to Undying Dynasties. I think that's the book that needs the most help. So I'm excited to see what they're gonna do there, and of course I'm excited to see what they're gonna do with Beast Herds because I like playing Beast Herds.
From what I heard, Beast Herds are actually just going to get replaced with the second Warriors book.
Oh.
And Beast Herds are just going to be another supplemental book.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm on 9th Age Design, so I can say these things.
Well, if anyone's still watching, please like and subscribe. Henry, thank you for joining us. Hope you can join us again for the next 2 rounds of changes, and we'll see you all next time.
Yep. And I'll see you at NATC.
NATC, which will be including these new rules. The round 1, part 1 of the new rules will be included in my team tournament in San Francisco. We'll see how it goes.
Yep.